All right, everyone. Here we go with another great video that is informative, as I usually like to have my videos as much as possible. Welcome to the Committed Relationships and Spiritual Activity YouTube channel. I am your host, Neo, and I'm here to share some info with the people. Okay, so now this information right here comes from years of my own personal development, focusing on myself, and also from my spiritual awakening that allowed me to perceive what's been going on for years, as far as what's been keeping people trapped psychologically in this physical realm and preventing them from reaching higher spiritual consciousness. And that is the aspect of being too busy. Time and time again, if you really think about it, there's so much going on in this physical realm that keeps people distracted from anything spiritual. And what I mean anything spiritual, I definitely do not mean religion, because religion is a religious ceremony. It's not spirituality as far as the traditional religious activities. So I'm talking about real spirituality that deals with the soul, us, the inner self, that spiritual activity, and that spiritism. And religion largely pumps fear into people when it comes to spirituality, because I'm talking about true spirituality, because religion does what it can to trap people and to keep them controlled away from spirituality, because true spirituality is freedom as far as being able to think independently away from this physical realm and to be able to perceive all of the psychological traps that's been going on. As I said in a variety of my psychological trap series, and if you have not seen that yet, once this video is over, do go to my homepage of this YouTube channel and check out my psychological trap series, where I go through all of the various traps that's available here in the physical realm that keeps people from reaching higher spiritual consciousness. So also, this information comes from a magazine that I've read that I got from my mother's house, because my mother is still a Jehovah's Witness, and she brought us up in that religion. And she and a few other of my relatives are the only few who are still a Jehovah's Witness that are of my family. Everybody that were once in, well, most of us that was once in the Jehovah's Witness religion, we all realized, we woke up from it and realized that religion itself is not for us. So for me, I've been on my spiritual path, focusing more on my inner spiritual self being, and as far as that oneness with self. So there was a magazine that I saw on her table that I wanted to read, and I read this a few months ago actually, and I just recently did a review reading it over. And it is the Awake magazine, titled "Are You Doing Too Much?" The title is "Are You Doing Too Much?" And it says number 4, 2017. And I'll do my best to make sure I get a image of the magazine so that you guys can see the cover. And on the cover we have a daughter, mother, and a son, and they all are preoccupied with their devices, their electronic devices. You got the daughter, she's looking at her cell phone, which she's probably on Facebook, Twitter, or some other social network, if not reading her text. The mother, she's probably on her way to work. She's on her phone talking, looking at her watch. Then you have the son. He is on, it looks like his Sony PSP, playing as he's walking out of the door, walking down the steps, and that is a big no-no. You do not want to be preoccupied with your electronic device as you're walking downstairs, because you're more likely to trip. So that is a big no-no right there. That's the first thing that I realized. So this source material, I'm going to read this source material, but at the same time comment on it and give you guys insights on the information that's in here, that I read verbatim from this information. And from my personal development journey, I can give you guys a lot of insights that I've learned that a lot of you might not realize within this physical life and your life that you need to learn, to know. So I have my magazine right here, which titled Are You Doing Too Much? The Awake magazine from the Jehovah's Witnesses. And I got this from my mother. Her table, she allowed me to take it. And I have some notes here that I wrote, so you will hear paper shuffles, whatever. The first thing I want to mention is busy, uncontrolled lives lead to less personal time to reflect on life itself regarding your own life. I'll say that again. Busy, uncontrolled lives lead to less personal time to reflect on life itself, including your own life. Just think about those people who have those busy working lives that are 40 or more hours a week lives. They get up, they go to work, they spend so much time at work, and then by the time they come home, they're too tired to do anything of personal development and anything that's spiritual. They're too tired to do anything that they literally have to do and should do within their own life. And so tired to where the only thing they really feel like doing is just turning on that idiot box, that stupidity box, and just sitting there and going into a trance and just watching TV. And that's it. Because if you think about it, TV, it really is so convenient because you really don't have to engage with it much. You just sit there and you just watch what's going on, right? And that's literally how this physical realm is created, to keep people so tired and to use up their energy that they can't focus on themselves to be able to be independent thinkers. And those people, once you as an individual, you're so drained, your energy is so drained from whether it be work or anything else, you don't have time and you don't want to start thinking, utilizing your mind and your brain to start thinking on a higher level. Just think about those times where you have a high level of fatigue. Do you ever have higher thought and you ever feel like stopping and thinking about something on a higher level? No. The moment you try to think about on a higher level, you're like, I don't feel like thinking about that right now. I just want to sit here and just relax. That's really how it is, because I know how it is for myself. It's like I just want to just sit and relax, and I don't feel like doing anything. So I see that a lot in some of my relatives too, and a lot of my other people that I know. They go to work, spend so much time and energy at work. And in actuality, a lot of people, their jobs, their occupation has nothing to do with their spiritual path. Nothing to do with their passion. So it's like whenever you go to a job that has nothing to do with your passion, you literally are wasting, you are burning your energy, your essence, the true essence of yourself. And then by the time you get home, you have little to no energy to do anything else. That's the reason why it's important to only get involved with people, places, and things that have to do with your passion, your spiritual path. Because the more you are focused on your passion and your spiritual path, the more energy you will receive from it. And your energy will be on a higher level, to where time goes so fast. Time is going faster. You have more energy throughout your life to do the things that you want and need to do. And you're on a higher consciousness to where you'll be able to perceive the things that you need and the things that you need to avoid and stop doing. So your personal development process will already start once you focus on your spiritual path and your passion. And then you'll be able to know what to do and what to alter within yourself. And this is what I've been doing throughout my life. And that's why I do not care about having a 9-to-5, traditional 9-to-5 job like everybody else. So I've learned that the importance of being self-employed in one way or another and getting money for myself to be able to support myself in one way or another. And once you really understand manifestation and the law of attraction, and you really understand it deeply, you understand that money can come to you in so many different ways. And as long as you let go of resistance, that money will come to you effortlessly and at the perfect timing when you need it, regardless if you are self-employed or not. But it is a good thing to be self-employed in one way or another. And that self-employment has something to do with your spiritual path. So that's that. I wanted to get that across. Now, the magazine has some surveys in the beginning that I want to read to you guys. Some surveys from, I don't know where it's from, but it says some surveys. In a 2015 survey of full-time workers in 8 countries, many respondents said that they find it hard to meet the demands of both their work and their home life. Causes included increased responsibilities at work or at home, rising expenses, and longer working hours. In the United States, for example, full-time employees report working an average of 47 hours a week. Nearly 1 in 5 claim to work 60 hours or more. This is what I'm talking about. Those longer hours. Those longer hours keep people from their personal development work and their personal time to reflect on life itself. So if you speak to the average person that's just always focused on work in one way or another, whether it be the traditional jobs or it be their career or whatever, anything that does not have to do with their personal passion, the majority of them have not been able to reach higher consciousness, higher spiritual consciousness, and they can't even perceive not even the simple basic spiritual concepts. And they have no spiritual thought, higher spiritual thought at all. It's just everything that has to do with this physical realm, the money and obtaining material possessions, and they're usually on a survival mode level. I think I have a video that explains survival mode, something of that nature. One of the videos I explained how a lot of people in this physical realm, especially here in the United States, they're operating on survival mode. And that survival mode keeps people extremely limited to what they can perceive in life and also perceive that they are able to do. That's why a lot of people haven't been able to perceive that it's possible for them to live out their dreams, be able to achieve their goals that they always wanted to achieve. Okay, we have here also in another survey, it says, this one involving 36 countries, over 1/4 of the respondents said that they often felt rushed, even in their leisure time. Children too can be affected if overloaded with tightly scheduled activities. That's why I mentioned to you guys, you gotta have that more personal time than that work time. You gotta have a good balance in your life, because the more balanced life you have in your life, the more physically, spiritually, psychologically, and emotionally you will be within yourself. Balance is highly important. Okay, and now what the next section of the magazine, it provides 4 reasons why some people try to do too much and why they really are busy. And I'm going to read these four reasons that they have listed here, and also I'm going to read what they have. But along with that, after each reason, I'm going to go ahead and provide my own commentary with that, so that I can add to whatever it is that I feel like is important for you guys to know. All right, let me see here. So the first one says, number 1 says, the desire to provide well for one's family. In which, in actuality, there's no problem with that. But let's listen to what it says here. It says here, and a person says, I was involved in my in my work 7 days a week, says a father named Gary. I did it because there was always something better that I wanted to give my kids. I wanted them to have the things I never had. End quote. Despite their good motives, parents need to examine their priorities. Some studies suggest that both adults and children who attach a lot of importance to money and material possessions tend to be less happy, less satisfied with their life, and less healthy physically than those who are not materialistic. In an effort to position their children for future success, some parents overschedule both their children and themselves with various activities. Such well-meaning parents, says the book, Putting Family First, are acting like recreation directors on a turbocharged family cruise ship. Now, this is something that I recently thought about a few days ago, and it made me realize what a lot of parents have been doing wrong. And there's so many parents that always say that I want to give my children more than what I had or what I didn't have when I was growing up. Now, just about every parent, and many of you who are listening to this right now, said this at least one or more times about your children. Most of these parents that say that they want to give their children more usually are saying that they want to give their children more material possessions than they had when they were children. Again, like I said, a lot of people's ego gets them to be obsessed with this physical world, this physical realm of obtaining material possessions, this illusionary world. As many people know, as the Bible says, that I think even Jesus said that there's more to life than just obtaining material possessions. In one way or another, he said it, and I wanted to remember that scripture because I have it written down somewhere, but I forgot where I put it. But even him, he said it himself, that there's more to life than just obtaining material possessions. And then there's another scripture that says, don't allow yourself to be overly concerned. I think it was about money, or overly concerned about the obtainment of material possessions. Instead, be steadfast in mind. I think I have my index cards are somewhere upstairs. Instead, be steadfast in mind. So what I was thinking about a few days ago is one thing that a lot of parents, when they say that, yes, I said that they are focused on material possessions, but to me, it makes sense that if you're going to give your child something, make sure that you pass on maturity to them. Give them maturity, teach them what maturity is, and teach them how to evolve their mind. And this is why I tell people all the time, it's important before a person has children to make sure that they have already completed a large amount of their own personal development journey before they have children, so that they themselves as parents can already have their mind balanced, strong, with a strong, mature foundation, with maturity as their foundation, so that they can pass that wisdom, that maturity on to their children. Doing that, providing your children maturity, is way much more valuable than providing them material possessions. like those video games, like those Jordans, giving them money, giving them a car. All of those things require maturity anyways from the start. So it makes sense that parents pass on maturity and focus on the psychological growth of their child first and foremost before they focus on the attainment of the material possessions. And every time I look at parents with their children who always are so who put a high emphasis on material possessions and money, 9 times out of 10 their child is spoiled. They're not very intelligent. They can't think for themselves independently. They're not very independent thinkers. And a lot of them are just big spoiled brats. And then when the parents get into a tough situation with them and things go haywire and adversity strikes, then they start wondering or getting mad that they're a spoiled brat. A lot of parents don't realize that they have more control over their children than they realize, and they're supposed to have more control over them than they realize and be responsible. And that's why I tell people you got to teach your children responsibility early on rather than the attainment of material possessions. That way, whenever the time gets serious, they'll know how to behave in those serious times. But if you're just sitting there focused on getting those material possessions so you can throw your child in front of an Xbox or in front of a PlayStation or in front of a TV or their cell phone or their tablet or computer, they're not going to really know how to respond in times of adversity, both with you as a parent and also in life. And that's why you see a lot of these people nowadays, these 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds, even 50s and 60-year-olds, they don't know how to control themselves, and they don't know the appropriate mature behavior to carry about within a situation to resolve conflicts and also prevent conflicts. Because if a person is mature, they know how to prevent conflicts and allow the situation to flow as it should flow. And that's what's going on. A lot of parents, they have children prematurely, meaning pre-psychological maturity. And they just going along with these family images that the media shows. And also they're going with their family instincts that once they get in love, you got that innate instincts. Men have it and women have it especially. They want to end up having a baby to do whatever it is that they say that they want to do, but you still have to have a higher consciousness that makes you think like, wait a minute, is it absolutely necessary for me to have a child right now? And do I have everything prepared for the child? That includes psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, physically, and financially. All of those things must be covered before you have children. And I'm thinking about doing a video explaining that into great detail, but I had to get that across because this is certainly necessary. Okay, now, let's see here. And I'm gonna place the emphasis on what it said where it says some studies suggest that both adults and children who attach a lot of importance to money and material possessions tend to be less happy, less satisfied with life, and less healthy physically than those who are not materialistic. Like I said, a lot of these children nowadays are spoiled brats due to their parents giving them everything that they wanted, talking about they want to give a better life for the child, but they're given a better life materially, but not psychologically, emotionally, physically, or spiritually. Those 4 things right there are most important than these material possessions. And that's why there's a lot of people who think that they are adults because they have material possessions, because they have a lot of money, but psychologically they really are children. There's a lot of 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds, 60-year-olds, and 70-year-old children literally and I can point them out. You can bring anybody to me, and I can point out which ones are the psychologically children. And I can tell you by reading their energy and watching their body movements and listening to them speak, especially that listening to that voice. That voice provides a lot of information about the person. Okay, number two. Number two says the belief that more is better. Number two actually goes kind of like with what I said about material possessions. So here we go. It says, advertisers try to convince us that we are depriving ourselves if we don't buy their latest products. Says the Economist. The explosion of available goods has only made time more crunched as consumers struggle to choose what to buy or what to eat in the limited time they have available. It says here, in the year 1930, a leading economist predicted that technological advancements would give workers more leisure time. How wrong he was. Instead of quitting work early, observed Elizabeth Colbert, staff writer for the New Yorker magazine, people find new things to need, and things cost money and time. And that's another thing that is occupying people's time, is the attainment of money and also material possessions. Another thing that keeps people away from focusing on their personal development more, just in general, and keeping them from reaching spiritual consciousness, because the more a person places high levels of emphasis on material possessions and obtaining money, the more they allow their ego to control themselves and to be in the front seat driving rather than their spiritual consciousness. Because once they reach spiritual consciousness, they realize the necessity of balance. Balance is necessary. Okay, number three says, trying to satisfy the expectations of others. And this is another egotistical thing that people do, and they don't realize it, that it's their ego that is trying to satisfy the expectations of others. All right, it reads here, some employees work grueling hours to avoid displeasing their employer. Co-workers can also exert pressure by making others feel guilty if they do not stay late. And then there is economic uncertainty, which can make people more willing to work longer hours or to be constantly on call. Similarly, parents can feel pressured to conform to the hectic pace of other families. If they do not conform, they may feel guilty about depriving their children. There we go again. If people feel like they feel pressure to conform to what society suggests that they do, that's another sign that the individual failed to do personal development work so that they can have that maturity foundation within their own mind to be able to control themselves and to be able to practice discipline to not conform unnecessarily to the social norms. And then that way they'll also be able to think independently about what they want and need to do. And if parents are feeling that pressure of being conform to work more hours and not be able to say no to their employer and to their co-workers, that is one clear sign of mental weakness, immaturity, and they lack personal development work. Personal development work allows a person to develop a strong psyche, a strong mind, to know how and when to say no. And that's in general. Okay, last but not least, and I'm going to close this out after this, and I'm going to give some more remedies in part 2. Number 4, the last one says, the pursuit of status and self-fulfillment. Tim, who lives in the United States, says, I loved my work and I worked at full throttle all of the time. I felt that I had to prove myself. Like Tim, many feel a strong connection between their self-image and their pace of life. The result? Busyness has acquired social status, says Elizabeth Colbert, quoted earlier. She adds, the busier you are, the more important you seem. And that is one ridiculous thing that I feel is ridiculous, that society makes people believe that. It influences people to believe that, to the point where people who don't even have a job and who don't do nothing but sit around and watch TV, watch soap operas or whatever, when they get calls and texts from somebody, they'll act like they're busy, but they're really not. They're just sitting there getting fat watching TV and just talking a whole bunch of crap on the phone and stuff like that. There's a lot of people that do that. I know some people personally who do that when they don't do anything but just go to work, go to Walmart, and sit around and just watch TV, and then get on the phone and just talk a whole bunch of crap about everybody else. And when those individuals themselves did not do any personal development work, and they are the ones who need the most help rather than trying to help other people. And they don't even know how to use their mind, and they are immature, and they don't understand what maturity is. And once a person reaches maturity, an adequate level, they know what maturity is, and they can identify who's the mature people and who isn't the mature ones. And you can tell it in so many ways. Every situation would allow you, especially those situations of conflict and adversity, it identifies who's the mature people from the immature people. That's what I'll say. Okay, so the last paragraph says, the subtitle says, learn to be balanced. Diligence and hard work are encouraged in the Bible. Proverbs 13:4. And then it says here, but so is balance. Better is a handful of rest than 2 handfuls of hard work and chasing after the wind, says Ecclesiastes 4:6. Leading a balanced life is good for our mental and physical health. Is it really possible, though, to cut back or slow down? Now, that is what I'm going to answer in part 2 of my, I guess I'm going to call it a small lecture here. I'm going to answer the rest of that. But like I said here, learn to be balanced. And as I said earlier, being balanced allows a person to be balanced psychologically, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And if you think about all of those people who are obsessed with working those long hours, regardless of what it is, just think about how a lot of them are psychologically unstable and they get sick often. And that's because they are unbalanced. They're unstable psychologically, emotionally, and physically. Because so many people, they work so many hours, like I said, they drain themselves that they don't want to focus on anything else that they need to focus on, including their health. Then you got some people who focus so hard on either obtaining a vehicle and or maintaining their vehicle more than they're focusing on maintaining the perfect health of their vehicle that they are utilizing every single day, and that's their human body. So you'll see a bunch of fat people who they got a nice car, but they got that fat belly. They got that pork belly. That's what I call it, pork belly. Pork belly that's poked all out, jiggling all over the place. But boy, oh boy, they got a nice car and they take care of that car. While at the same time they coughing all over the place. They got asthma. It's just ridiculous. When I look at some people, I'm like, man, look how ridiculous they look physically. But they make sure that they got that nice vehicle. I mean, it's the priorities that people have to focus on more. And the priorities needs to start with your mind, body, and your inner spiritual self, first and foremost. Then all of the rest will come to you. I think it said somewhere in the Bible, focus on the kingdom first, which is your internal self. Then the rest will come. The rest of the things that you want and need will come. Something of that nature. You know what scripture it is. put it in the comment section if you guys know what scripture I'm talking about, and quote it for me too, so that you can get it correct. All right, that's part 1 of the Are You Busy lecture, and part 2 will be coming soon. So definitely click the like button if you have any form of interest, if this provided you any form of interest, and also any form of information that makes you think differently and that you have learned from it. Definitely sign in if you didn't already sign into your account. Click the like button for this video. Definitely share this link wherever you can. Subscribe, click the bell button so that you can get updates for further information such as like this, including relationships and spiritual activity. I have a lot of information that I share from my personal development journey, and also my study of relationships that I share with people on this channel. My name is Neo, that's Neo. If you would like to send me an email, you can do that at CommittedRelationships@gmail.com. That will be in the description. Check out the description section anyways when you get done listening to this video. Thank you.